I'm going to launch some Mavic Mini from this location with the little car up here. I'm going to go 1.4 miles and I'm going to land it at a different location, at a different park down the street. This is an urban setting with lots of interference, as you'll see. Right now I'm kind of right down the street on a nature trail. I'm going to try to stay 175 feet and not lose a signal. I've flown the Mavic Mini in this location many times, and the signal interruptions are constant. There's a lot of trees in the way. It's hard to get a clear line of sight. And it's an urban environment, even though I'm off the beaten path here a little bit. I'm going to get into a pretty urban area here in a second. I can usually get about 1,000 feet before I get a lot of signal interruptions and either have to turn the drone around or reposition my body. It's just hard to get a good line of sight straight to the drone with all the trees. Of course, you got bridges and power lines and just a lot of things. There's a lot of neighborhoods and homes in this area too. Right now I'm trailing the drone in my car, so that 800 feet is not accurate. I'm actually pretty close to underneath it. I go around a turn here and stuff. I clipped a little out of the video so it's not so long, but I kind of went around a turn. I'm coming up by this playground and you can see my car. Now it says I'm 2,500 feet.
Maximum flight distance reached.
I'm going to go into my settings and change the maximum distance. And in a second here, I'm going to change the home point. The distance of 2,620 feet is not accurate. That is from the original home point. So I'm going to change it. I'm the blue dot. I'm going to change the home point to where the blue dot is.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
Now it immediately dropped to 649 feet, which is closer to being accurate. I'm in front of the drone now, so I'm going to let it catch up and get ahead of me. Because it's behind me, that's not good because the antennas are pointing forward. And when I go into this bridge, I'm probably going to lose all kinds of signals and stuff. So here in a minute, when I get kind of out of the way of any kind of traffic, I'm gonna stop and let the drone get in front of me. Now the drone is pretty much right above me and we're traveling in the same direction. The drone is going faster. This is a kind of a slow park road. So I'm going to go ahead and let the drone get out in front of me. I am the blue dot. The home point is well behind us. I'm going to reset that now.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
That is my intended landing zone. Now I have a new home point and the drone is 290 feet, 300 feet and going in front of me. If you have a driver, this is easier, but you can do this all day. You can do it on a bicycle, like I say, and just, you can go for miles and miles and miles, land it, put a new battery in, and film your entire neighborhood or the entire, county park. You want to keep resetting the home point in case something does happen where you lose signal and the drone decides it wants to return to home, low battery, who knows? It's technology, anything could happen where that drone says, I'm coming home. Over here is where I intend to land. Of course, I still have plenty of battery, so that's subject to change. We can always change our mind on that if maybe there was some little kids over there or some activity that I just don't feel comfortable landing. I'm not 1,190 feet away. I'm probably about half that. I'm going to change the home point and you'll see it'll probably cut that in half.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
Basically what I'm doing is playing follow the drone. That's the best way. That's better than drone follow me, unless somebody else was driving and I was like sitting in the back of the vehicle with the remote pointing up at it, you know, through the back window, a hatchback, or the back of a pickup truck. The drone is out in front of me now. I'm going to try to catch up with it. Then I'm going to get a little bit ahead of it, but not too far because the antennas are facing forward and I will lose the signal. And I'm going to let it hover and kind of decide where I'm going to park and where I'm going to land it. Taking off and landing is where you're going to draw the most attention to bystanders and curious people. I just prefer to take off in one spot, film in another spot, and land in another spot, wherever, as long as it's kind of an empty spot. There's not a lot of people around to come up and start asking a lot of questions or get too close. I mean, I don't want the COVID virus, and people use this as an excuse to get very, very close because they want to see what's going on your telephone screen. I understand it, but I'm just not into it. So I found alternatives to being the center of attention. Remember, me and my car are the little blue dot. So I'm going to drive through this area. There's a little parking lot and there's a boat landing. And I've just taken a gander around. There's quite a few cars through here. I'm going to drive through, take a look, and then ultimately I'm going to decide whether or not I want to land here or do I want to go across to the empty parking lot where the drone is right now. I'm going to head over to the empty parking lot because there's a lot of cars and trucks around here and I wouldn't want any kind of happy accident or anything to happen. So the empty lot's right across the trail there. It's going to be 100% safe. So it's no problem. I still got plenty of battery. I could even move again after that if I had to. There's more to this than just being discreet. You can cover a lot of ground. You can cover your entire neighborhood, miles of city streets and stuff as you drive down the road on your bicycle or have a driver in your car. I'm doing this myself today because it's early in the morning, there's no traffic. But I mean, really in a county park or a big park area or something where you're going to lose signal a lot because of trees or maybe hills and mountains around where I live, there's a lot of that. You just kind of follow the drone and keep close. You never lose the signal and you can keep on flying. You just follow the drone. I do this all the time in parks in different areas in the city, in the suburban areas, so I can get the footage and the film that I want. Sometimes I just do it to pass time. It's really a fun way to do it. Gets you outside, gets you out doing things. Today I'm in my car, but I have an electric scooter I do this kind of thing with quite a bit. It's an empty lot, there's nobody there, there's no other cars there. It's a safe place for me to just reach out the window, grab the drone, roll up the window and go back to work. Once again, on the blue dot, I'm going to kind of circle around this parking lot and go out to, Olive Street, and turn into that empty lot and park there. Then hit the return to home. Probably reset the home point, then hit return to home. But I probably won't land the drone because when you do it this way, it's not going to land accurately exactly. It's going to get you in the neighborhood, but it's not going to be like where you launched it from. It could be 10 feet off. It could land right on top of your car. It could land in a bush or something like that. So once it gets down to a lower altitude, I'll stop it. I'll check it out, and then I'll just bring it down to a level where I can just reach out the car and grab it. When you go to reset the home point, if you can't find your blue dot, it's just like any other app on an iPhone. You can pinch it, you can move it, and you can expand it, blow it up. Find your blue dot, and then you move the blue dot to the H. Ideally, that little circle point right underneath the H is probably the best spot. That's going to get you very close, but still not as accurate as if you launched it from there. This drone doesn't claim to have pinpoint return to home accuracy anyway. But even if it did, I never just trust that to happen. If I was out in the middle of a 20-acre parking lot, then maybe I wouldn't worry about it. I'd just go ahead and let the drone land. But pretty much, I always bring the drone down to a level, and then I stop it and I land it myself, or I grab it with my hands. 99% of the time with the Mini, the good old Mavic Air, which is really not that old, and the Mavic Air 2, it doesn't matter. I almost always grab them with my hand instead of letting them land, in the gravel or in the grass or in the dirt or whatever. It might take a little practice. I don't know. It's really not that hard. You just hold down on the stick. It might jump up a little bit on you because it's got a sensor on the bottom, but it's very easy to catch it. I even have a big old Holy Stone drone. It's about the size or bigger than a Phantom with landing gear. Same thing, it has like an emergency stop button. I bring it down, usually I lightly grip the landing gear and I hit that emergency stop button, and it's just the propeller stop. I got it in my hand, I just get in the car and go.
Landing.
This time the Mavic Mini looks like it's coming down. It's gonna be pretty close, but that is a gravel parking lot. I don't want it landing in the gravel anyway. So when it gets down to a acceptable altitude, which to me, I don't think this altitude height number of 109, 110 feet is correct right there. I'm not sure, but I doubt that, because sometimes it says it's 29 feet and I can look out the car and it's more like 12 feet. But that's not important. What's important is that you get it to an acceptable altitude, and then, it's best to put it in cinematic mode, and then you can kind of just float it on it up to your window and grab it, or put your hand right underneath it, pull down on the left stick, and pretty much just it'll be in your hand. You just take it in the car. If you don't feel comfortable with that, then by all means, take some kind of landing pad with you, or find a more of a concrete or blacktop parking lot where there's not a lot of dirt and gravel. I just don't want to get a bunch of gravel and stuff all up in it. Some people wouldn't feel comfortable grabbing the drone. I get that. That's no big deal. It's really not that hard to do, but if you don't feel comfortable, I wouldn't try it. You might hurt your hand a little bit, or you could, wreck the drone somehow, or maybe even scratch up your car or somebody else's car. The point is, take your time, don't panic, don't freak out. I still have 19% on my battery. I still got plenty of time to land this thing, even if I needed to move again. So just make sure you do it in a safe place where you're not gonna harm anybody's car, anybody else, or the drone. $400 for a drone is nothing to shake a stick at. The reason I've made a couple of these videos is because people can't always just get out to the country. Some people may own a Mini, but they don't even have a car, but they still want to fly their drone. And these are ways you can do it. And without losing the drone, there's a lot of interference in the cities. It's not a very forgiving place to be flying a drone, so these are some tips that can be helpful. If you're new to DJI, you might not know about this. You open the app, you go to your profile, click More at the bottom left. You open up the top line there as your flight record. Now I'm going to scroll through this. It's a 21-minute flight, so I'm going to just grab this slider at the bottom and go really fast. This works like any other mapping app pretty much on an iPhone, where you just kind of pinch it and you can zoom in and zoom out and things like that and look at your flight. So that's what I'm doing here. And when I fly out of the screen, I can zoom in and zoom out. I can see all my flight telemetry. I can see my satellites, my battery level, everything pretty much that happened. Little alarms that popped up, wind warnings, my altitude and my distance. And just kind of review your flight. You won't be able to see on the telemetry the total distance, but you will on the flight record when you first open the flight record when you hit more on your profile. This is a pretty neat little feature, and it kind of shows you where I started. Then I can actually turn around and fly backwards, and change the satellite map and fly all the way back to my start point. So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to scroll it all the way backwards and go all the way back the 1.5 miles to where I started, moving the map, zooming in, panning over left and right, stuff like that. I'm going to go back underneath the bridge, but in a satellite view. That's pretty neat. One thing you got to remember though, these flight record videos are on your phone, they're in the app, and if you go into your files and look at your app, or if you go into your iPhone storage, you will see that these things start to take up a lot of space. If you only have 64 gigs on your phone, you're going to run out pretty quick, so I have to delete them sometimes, but that's a pretty cool little feature.